A bizarre disaster hit the busy streets of Boston 100 years ago. A deadly event that covered the streets with over 2 million gallons of molasses. One man knew better than anyone else that it was going to happen, and he did everything he could to stop it. Who was this man? Why did this disaster happen? 100 years later, we don't know all the answers. But this is the story of what we do know. His name was Isaac Gonzalez. Isaac was born in Puerto Rico and grew up there, but at the time of the disaster, he was living and working in Boston. Isaac worked for a company that needed a lot of molasses. Most people use molasses instead of sugar to make food sweet when they cooked, but this company used it as a part of a process to make ammunition, which was in big demand because of the war going on at the time. The molasses was stored in a gigantic tank. Isaac's job was to keep the pipes cleared so that molasses could flow into and out of the tank. But from his very first day on the job, Isaac knew something was wrong with the tank. Isaac saw molasses leaking from the seams of the tank. He heard odd rumbling noises coming from inside the tank. But his boss didn't seem to care. A year passed and things were no better. Some leaks had been sealed, but new ones still dripped from the tank. And Isaac heard even stranger groans and creaks coming from inside. He began to worry that the tank was going to burst. If that happened, many people could be hurt. The tank had been built in Boston's North End, on a busy street where many immigrants lived. Isaac knew that the people who lived there hadn't wanted the tank so close to their homes, but they didn't have the power to stop it. Isaac had to act. He decided to visit the man who had supervised the tank's construction. He reported the leaks and groans, and he even brought samples of steel that had peeled off of the inside of the tank. The supervisor didn't want to hear it. He told Isaac to stop worrying and just do his job. Isaac was frustrated and getting more scared with each passing day that something bad would happen. He started having nightmares that the tank collapsed. He began running across town night after night just to check on it. He even released some molasses from the tank, hoping to ease the pressure on its walls. Isaac's supervisor wanted him to keep quiet about the tank's problems. Isaac knew his actions could get him fired or even thrown in jail. Finally, the company decided to do something about the tank, but they didn't fix the seams. They just painted the tank so you couldn't see the leaks. Now Isaac knew the company would never pay attention to his warnings. He couldn't work there anymore. He decided to quit and join the army. And 4 months later, the tank cracked apart, releasing a wave of molasses and creating one of the worst disasters in Boston's history. 2 years later, Isaac came back to Boston to testify in a trial about the disaster. Whose fault was it that the tank collapsed? The company who owned the tank claimed they didn't do anything wrong. But Isaac's testimony helped show that they had ignored many warnings about the tank's condition, and the company was found guilty. Today, we don't know anything more about Isaac Gonzalez's life, but we'll always remember him as the hero who did everything he could to stop the Boston molasses disaster of 1919.